I'm hiding you because I decided to park in the stupidest spot where everybody can see me. Here, I'm gonna move you over here because I feel like you're too far away. Some of you have social anxiety just like my dumbass. Now, the reason I say my dumbass, it's because I haven't really gotten treatment for it, which I should have, because I think medication would probably be the only answer that's realistic enough. Earliest memories, I've always been a nervous person, but in elementary was when I got severe anxiety because I was around people. And I think it was more because of humiliation because I did not speak English when I was a child and I was made to feel guilty about it, and because I'm a slow learner, that was even worse. Like, that's just made everything worse. And the place I went to was super racist. They weren't used to kids being anything other than American because they did have speech therapists and helpers, teachers, but it was mainly for the American white children. So I never got a speech therapist or helper. I was just in ELL, which the teacher hated children, which was really fun. I hated that shit. So it already made this bad connection with learning the language. And I ended up never learning it properly, which is a whole nother thing. But because of that, I was never confident in my English. The only reason I feel like made a big jump in knowing the language was because I really wanted to know how to read. I craved knowing and understanding what was written in books, and because internet wasn't a thing back then. Especially if you're poor, the only way to escape a shitty life or like a boring life was reading. So I needed to learn ASAP, and that kind of helped me. But over the years, I stayed away from medication for anything really because I'm scared to be dependent on substances. I know that sounds crazy because it's not the same, but I'm just scared to be reliant on things when I could find another way around it. I try to get by with like weird tricks I've learned to help myself. So breathing exercises have never worked on me. I know a lot of therapists shove that down our throats, which I really hate. I've actually had serious conversations with my therapist about how I really don't want her to ever tell me to breathe because that is the dumbest way of helping somebody with anxiety, in my opinion, because I feel like you're calling me stupid. Like, just breathe. And I have tried it. I don't just hate things just to hate them. It doesn't work. It doesn't work on me. I don't know if it's about, like, if you guys have the same problem, but I hate it. It never works on me. And I'm just tired of hearing people say, breathe in, breathe out. It's just bullshit. So I've come up with really random that are probably not good in the long run, but it has helped me a lot in my old warehouse job where I was around a lot of people, and these people really wanted to have conversations. Like, they were extroverts and didn't have any social anxiety. So I kind of had to talk to them, and these are the things I did. So you guys could try them out. But again, I will warn you, it's not a good idea because they did end up having some consequences. So, first one is I I adopted a persona. So, basically, if you like acting, if you ever craved being an actor, this is going to be perfect for you. I always like the idea of acting. I don't consider myself a good actor because I've never acted in a play or anything, but I did play with my siblings. I was the oldest, so a lot of the times I had to like become the game maker along with my other brother. And we didn't have internet access, so I started just making like games up and characters in my head. So my brothers, we played GI Joes, and we made pretty cool characters. Since I was the oldest, my characters were pretty in depth, especially since I read books at this point. I kind of took pieces of other characters that I liked and I made them into these staple characters. I remember I had three. three characters that were part of like my little group, and it was a Power Ranger named Alex. I had two little like ninjas named, one was Scene, and the last one was Alan. Alan and Sheen were brothers, and Alex was like their friend. And they were like, Sheen was a funny, goofy one, and the adventures they would go on in the sand we had, basically dirt, but we made castles. And then my brother was really good at making sand forts that would survive a sand hurricane or whatever it's called. But those characters became so good that my brother actually wanted the characters. Like, they were just shitty little toys, but he wanted them. They became valuable. I remember that. And then with my sister, I made scenarios with the Barbie dolls. Like, I don't know why, but you know how you select, like, I'll pick one and then you pick the other one, your characters for Barbies or whatever you're playing. My sister would just pick one. And same with my brothers, they would just pick one character when we were playing, and I had to be everybody else. So I became good at having multiple personalities, which is probably not psychologically healthy, but I made them so different to the point where when we didn't have the toys and we had to be like at my grandma's or at our uncle's, being bored waiting for us to go home, we could just voice them. And it became so known that we all started playing the same game. And this helped me make badass characters that I would forever, till this day, channel when I am very anxious around people, because I was so uncomfortable being myself. And this would help me become strong enough to put my fears, like, snooze them, because I was no longer me who was afraid of eye contact and talking to people while making eye contact. To me, that me as a person, I think eye contact and having a conversation with somebody that I barely know is very uncomfortable. It's very personal. I feel like they can read my mind and I'm not at their level no matter what. So it's more of like a self-esteem issue. And I start to stutter, especially when they point something out about me. I don't like when people notice me. I don't like it when people call me by my name. I would just rather them say, hey, you know. So it's really annoying. But I constantly, to stop that, I channel other characters. And this character could be you making up a character. I remember when I was very young and I was writing in my journals because I loved to write and read. I made up two other versions of myself. One was super nice and loved animals, and she was the happy version of me. And the other one was the scary version of me, and she was powerful, and she was financially stable, and she was super smart. And I was the worst version. I was always the worst one, the one that needed to evolve into either one. And my life and how I chose would eventually lead me down which path. And I constantly had them fighting which one I should lean towards, happiness or basically success. And I have not reached neither. So there you go. It doesn't work in the long run. But the thing is, a lot of the times they'd come out, I've let them come out and help me out in the real world. For example, if it's a guy, specifically guys who are being really annoying and craving attention, especially old men that should stop talking to younger women the way they do, like this constant sexualizing. And they do this with everybody. It doesn't matter. Even some other dudes have said they're uncomfortable with these guys. They'll say some weird comments, and I will let my rude version of me come out. And now all of a sudden, I can keep eye contact, and I don't stutter at all, actually. And I can say whatever I want. So that's one of the tips I would say. Holding this persona that you need help with, whatever it is you're struggling with, all of a sudden this new character that you are acting as or embodying does not have trouble with this stuff. And everybody else, telling yourself constantly, everybody else is afraid of this character. or who you can even name it. Another way you can do this if you're not a good actor is channeling people in your life or characters that you've seen in movies that could help you in this situation. But I did used to channel my family a lot. One of my brothers was very outgoing, so I would channel him in social gatherings where I had to be polite. I would channel him, and then with my sister, I try to channel her when I'm having interviews. And then when I want to be more cold, I channel my youngest brother because he tends to come off as a little bit colder. With my mom, I tend to channel her when I'm speaking in Spanish because I literally sound like her when I'm speaking in Spanish. And I also have her in my head, like her voice in my head when I'm thinking in Spanish. So I channel her to hold on to my identity as a Mexican American or whatever. And then it's constant. The worst part is accidentally channel my dad when I'm pissed off because my dad had, like, I don't know, he's just an angry little guy, you know. So you can channel the strengths of people or what they're known for or what they can help you, and it can serve you in a strange way because it kind of distracts you from the problems you're having, the struggles with social anxiety and social confrontation or whatever it is. And another part of that is channeling a feeling to help you. For example, I can cover my anxiety with anger. I tend to, I don't think anybody at work thinks I'm socially anxious unless I tell them. I think they think I'm an angry person that's quiet because I'm hard to work with, because I'm always losing my mind. Like, I'm constantly angry for the smallest little things, which is not good, but it's also, for me, it's better than being somebody who's socially anxious, walking on eggshells with everybody. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things I do. Now, beware, because when I was in my last warehouse job, it got pretty toxic. I became somebody I did not recognize anymore. I loved it, to be honest with you. I loved it. I was powerful. I made a friend group. They feared me, but they only respected me because they feared me. I could tell the room, every time I walked in with them to a room, they tensed up. I made people very uncomfortable, and yes, that's toxic. So that's why I would channel somebody that's more happy and more energy, that, you know, fills the room with sunshine, whatever you want to do. But personally, I love that because, again, I was a very socially anxious child, and having this much respect and fear because, you know, before, only a few years before I started this job, I was walked all over. You know, I was walked all over, and to see the tables flip and twist and do jumping jacks or, you know, whatever, felt so good. It's actually addicting. And the more I embodied this character, this, you know, evil, mean person, the more I wanted to become that person. So that's why you have to be aware, because the more you channel something, the more I feel like you become it. And I started to think like this person. I didn't I wasn't horrible. Like, I didn't make anybody cry, but I was reported, and eventually it was the reason I left that place, but it was a horrible place to work at. So there's that. Knowing I can get to that and I could stare people in the eye and make them nervous and uncomfortable made me feel like, damn, I am capable of, you know, using this persona as a shield. But it does not solve your problem, so just FYI. The next one, I took so long with that one, sorry. This one I do without even trying. You know those people that when you tell them a joke, they just keep laughing about it? Or when they hear a good joke, they just won't stop reminding themselves of it, and they keep laughing about it, and they keep reminding everybody about it? That's me. So I am a pretty, like, I would say, immature person. I like to be annoyingly, like, playful with people. Like, if we have an inside joke, I will not let you forget it, and I will try to bring it up. So it's kind of annoying. And what I would do to kind of make me feel better about my anxiety, especially at work, is I would listen to stand-up comedy. And lately, stand-up comedy has been shit. They're all kind of like trying too hard and it's, offensive. So I tend to just listen to not stand-up comedy exactly, but like podcasts that are funny, or remembering funny situations in the past and playing them in my head, because it kind of eases the tension I have. And I don't know, it makes me happy, and it kind of stops me from overthinking because I'm busy laughing. And this gets so extreme sometimes that I'll be in my area alone, completely alone, and one second I'm pissed off, and then I'll remember something really funny to calm myself down, or if I'm anxious, and I'll start laughing out loud, and somebody would look over and think I'm going crazy, and I don't care because I'm having fun. Okay, I'm having fun. The problem with this is you look crazy, which I don't care, but you might, and where you work might care. But you could also have a giggly mood. When I get stuck in a giggly mood, I just can't stop, and it's annoying because I'm like, dude, I cannot stop laughing. I remember I saw like a reel, I think they're called, where this guy was like, when your iPad like runs out of battery, so you have to listen to the gym music, and it's really bad, and the gym music was something about like a rap of some guy saying, I had to take a shit, I sat down, but I didn't wipe. I just got up and left. And that show's so funny. I don't know why. It was so freaking funny. I laughed about that for way too long. Like, I remember laughing till I cried as my sister and her friend watched me, because they were like sitting at the table doing homework or whatever. And they looked at me losing my mind over this, and I just could not drop it. Like, I just kept laughing. I had to get up and leave because it was so annoying. But yeah, stuff like that. Like, that's the type of shit I laugh at. I remember back in the past when I was really, really depressed and miserable, and somebody would say like a little critical comment, which I really couldn't handle at the time. And I'm like, damn, I'm about to burst into tears. This is embarrassing. So I quickly would search up something funny, or what's it called, like a funny meme. And I have a bunch of them saved on my Pinterest, and a bunch of them saved on my collections of reels or whatever they are, TikToks. So just in case, because that one giggle could help you out, because you don't want to burst out crying all the time. It You save that for later when you can have, that moment to yourself. At least that's what I think. But yeah, that's another thing, making yourself laugh and making yourself happy, thinking of happy memories, or just a funny prank you can pull on somebody. I don't know, anything. So if you're socially anxious, at least in my case, you're very afraid of somebody catching you doing something embarrassing, even if it's something very small. Like, one of my things that I was very embarrassed about at work is tripping. Not even falling, tripping. I was embarrassed to trip, and I didn't know how to play it off. And another one was finally talking to somebody, and being interrupted is embarrassing, and never being able to finish what I was saying. Like, I still hate that, but it's not embarrassing. But that shit used to be super embarrassing for me. And then the last one is something I talk about all the time. It's shitting myself. I'm so scared of shitting myself, or almost shitting myself in front of somebody like that. And social anxiety gives me diarrhea, so that's just great. The way I kind of try to get ahead of it is giving people secondhand embarrassment so I don't take it. And it sounds counterproductive, I think is the word, counter whatever. But the thing is, embarrassment is unedible. You can't eat embarrassment. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying this word right. Embarrassment is unavoidable. It's going to happen eventually. So if you can get ahead of it, you have control. And boy, do we love control. No, I'm just kidding. If you had a problem with an ed, chances are you like control. So this is your chance to take control. And it's going to suck at first, but you're going to like it. Well, I can't speak for you guys. I hated it at first, but then I started to have fun with it. So I give people secondhand embarrassment. And you heard this before. It's said better in social media. I think they worded it way better because it's easier to understand, and it is poetic. They said, to be cringe is to be free, which is exactly what this is. and I could not have described it better. And this is basically, you're going to have to embarrass yourself. You're going to have to put yourself in a spot to be embarrassed on purpose, so you can kind of get people around you used to something embarrassing. And that way, the higher you go on the embarrassment scale, the better. Because that way, when you trip or when you do shit yourself, nobody will be surprised. So you're kind of desensitizing, if I can say the word properly, everybody to your possible fears. And that is why, for me, I always say some cringy or embarrassing shit. Literally. Like, and I do it with you guys too. Like, I constantly tell you guys, if I take a shit, I'm about to shit myself. I'm scared to shit myself. Like, when is it too young to shit yourself? You know, because I'm doing myself a favor and getting myself used to something I've feared for a long time, and that is like actually shitting myself. Like, I'm scared in public. Like, if I shit myself right now, chances are I'll probably tell you guys, because that's how much fun I'm having with that, but nobody else will know. You know, like, nobody else has to know. But if I shit myself at work, for example, I've talked about shitting myself so many times at work that if I do it, nobody's going to be surprised. So that's what I have done for myself. I've kind of set the stage. And if I don't, people would just remember me as a person that was like constantly talking about how they're almost going to shit themselves. And I use it as an excuse to get out of bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, if a manager's like, "Hey, can you go do somebody else's work since you did all your work?" I'm like, "No, I have diarrhea." You know, like, what are you gonna do? Argue with me? You know, it takes a little bit of guts, but once you get used to it, it becomes addicting. My last tip, because this video is freaking long as shit, is whatever you're scared of doing in front of people, whether it be eye contact, whether it be just talking, whether it be walking, you're gonna do it by the mirror. This is what I do constantly without even realizing that it's actually very helpful. And the reason I know it's helpful is because I told my manager, I told my therapist, I told her I feel crazy because I go to the mirror and I talk to myself. And I practice what I'm going to say at work. Sometimes I try to practice. I used to do this more often back then when I was really, really like socially anxious, especially when I had this super evil manager that really didn't like me. And I would practice how I would talk to her. Now I don't really need to talk, like practice talking to somebody. I usually just practice being tough, because I want people to, like, when I need somebody to fear me, I need it to be very like on point. I can't sneak a smile, I can't break eye contact, and I cannot stutter. You'd be surprised how much people can twist shit on you if you miss some of this stuff when you're trying to be scary or be taken seriously. Now, this would be very helpful if I was 6 feet tall, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I have to rely on, being an angry looking person that's very calm and collected somewhat. Oh my god, this truck just saw me talking to myself. But yeah, so I need to drink this. Nothing will beat the embarrassment I feel with random strangers watching me like talking to myself in the car. But yeah, so what I was telling you guys, I would go to the mirror and practice everything I have to say. I will practice eye contact with myself, because you are a person. You can pretend you're talking to somebody else, or you can practice how your eye contact is going to look. And at first I thought this was crazy, but my therapist actually said this is actually something they do in therapy. I don't know what it's called, but she said it is a way people do it. Sometimes I think they often do it with kids, so for children. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a child, but it works. So the thing is, it's like you're practicing with a person yourself, but you're not dealing with the part where like you don't know, like you're not comfortable, because it's yourself. Who else is gonna know? You know? I don't know. Do you get what I mean? Do you understand me? So that is some like ways I deal with social anxiety, especially quick little coping ways to like not conquer. but like deal. Especially on the spot. The other ones were more on the spot, like channeling this random person that will help you get through those tough days, and maybe eventually, like, if you make a persona that you want to be that isn't just like evil like mine, then you know maybe you will eventually become that person because you're manifesting. It counts as manifestation if you believe in that. I believe in everything except myself for some reason, but we'll get there eventually. Maybe I can channel believing in myself and that could work. But I am leaving and I'll see you later because this video is already way too long. Well, let me know if you guys are going to try any of these tips or if they're too strange, or if you have a weird way of dealing with anxiety as well, and we can all try to apply it. See ya.